It's Tuesday, June 26th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we discuss why video games are currently out of season.
Let's do this. Well, Scott refuses to let me turn off the AC, so if you hear any humming in the background, it's all him.
Oh, I didn't refuse to turn it off. I just asked if he would turn it off.
And I said no, and then you bitched about it, and you kept bitching.
All I did is said, hey, why don't we leave it on? And, why don't we do a little test to see just how much noise it makes? And you didn't say anything after that.
I said...
I guess it's still on. Do you want me to turn it off?
Yeah, turn it off. Turn it off.
I'll turn it off. All right. Did anyone hear a difference? I just turned the air conditioner off. Does it sound any different now?
Yeah, because I didn't really bother testing, partly because I had to turn the air conditioner off to do that, and partly because I can't know how it'll really sound until I do all the processing and the filtering, and it's just not worth it.
I have a feeling that it won't be that much sound. Of course, the air conditioner is right behind me, so it would be more than if, say, the air conditioner on the other side of the room.
Yeah, there is also the issue that with the compressor, whenever we're not talking, it would just get rid of the air conditioner, but then it would come back as we talked.
It's a tough call, but, well, you have a small sample of air conditioner Geeknights to listen to, and tell us how it sounds, because if you can't hear it, then I'm keeping that bitch on, because it is warm today. Goddamn.
Yeah, warmer than yesterday, so,
You didn't do this typical run-through with that.
No, I didn't, because otherwise we would get predictable.
Yeah. All right, so it's a gaming day, isn't it? And I haven't been playing too many games lately, so this is going to be kind of weird.
Me either. Luckily, that gave us something to talk about. See, originally we were going to talk about Civ 2. Then I realized we already talked about Civ 2, I think.
I don't really remember talking about Civ 2.
It's listed as the primary thing of a show from a long time ago.
I had to go listen to that show to see what the deal was.
Yeah, because you're going to go back. You have time to go back and listen to that.
Actually, today, I was sitting at work, and I listened to the podcast on my iPod, except for the ones I didn't feel like listening to. And I actually went around to websites of podcasts, downloaded MP3s directly, and then listened to them with my headphones plugged into my work PC.
I've tried to do that several times, and I still can't find any podcast worth listening to.
I mostly did it for episodes of podcasts I do listen to that came out after I left to go to work.
Wow, that's kind of...
Because I was out. I needed something to listen to. What was I going to do?
I guess because I only listen in the car. I only update my iPod like once a week, and then I pretty much just listen to Dave and Joel and NPR.
Yeah, I listen at work, so I need some more content.
Because the AWO hasn't been updating so much.
I actually went around to, all the anime-type podcasts that we're friendly with and how they all have all the links on the side, like Anime Lore links to Ninja Consultant, links to Dave and Joel, links to... Right?
Yeah.
And I clicked on every single one of those on all of the sites to actually get the whole picture. I had a whole row of tabs for every single one. I didn't listen to any of them.
Right, but it's video game day, so I'm sure you've heard about all this crap with the ESRB and how they rated this game adults only, and how the Albionic people decided they don't want this game to come out, and then how Sony and Nintendo said, yeah, we don't want it to come out either, change it. Take-Two basically said, all right, we're not going to change the game, because that goes against everything we stand for.
Oh, did they really? I thought they were going to delay it and make it M.
Well, what they said is they're just going to shelve it for now, and that's it. They're not going to release it. And I don't think they're sure what they're going to do yet, unless there's been news since the last news I read.
Well, they spent a lot of money developing it. They better make some money on it.
See, now, if I were them, one, I'd probably talk to my lawyers to see about if there's any way to bring a lawsuit against the ESRB or any organizations behind them for perhaps holding Take-Two to a higher standard than other game companies due to previous events that might have angered the ESRB.
Yep, because I've never played Manhunt 1 or 2, but I am pretty confident, based on the information I've read in many, many places, that Manhunt 2 isn't really any more violent than Manhunt 1.
Well, I did watch the trailers for Manhunt 2, and it didn't... I've read books that were a lot worse than that. There's no adults-only rating on my book.
I think it's just a case of that people are still holding video games to like some other standard than the other mediums when it comes to censorship and violence and ratings. If you took like a movie that's rated R, like, The Matrix, right? And you make a video game out of it, it's going to be rated M. And possibly, if you have a movie with like one boob, right? That like, what's a movie with one boob in it?
Well, I can think of a movie with 3.
Yeah, trying to think of a movie
Get your
with
ass
one
to
boob.
Mars.
Yeah, I don't know. Pick a movie with one boob in it. Or
I don't
maybe
know,
two
the
boobs.
the Metroid movie that's coming out.
That's not gonna have any boobs.
It's gonna have one.
That's an inside joke if I ever heard one.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Pick your favorite R-rated movie that's got some titties in it, and imagine making a video game out of that. It would be adults only with the same content, and that's just the bullshit that we have right now.
Well, the thing is, in America, we have the, G, PG, PG-13, R, NC-17. I kept wanting to say X and adult only, but no, it's NC-17.
And then X.
No, X is not a rating. X hasn't been a
Actually,
rating.
one X is a rating, I'm pretty sure.
No, they got rid of that a long time ago.
I thought the triple X was not a rating.
No. The issue with that, because I actually did a bunch of this in the argument class at RIT, the X rating was originally intended to be, beyond R. And it wasn't necessarily intended to be for pornography. It was just the next rating, like the top rating. But they didn't trademark or whatever, so people just self-applied the rating X, mostly for pornography.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't want to be associated with all that. There's a big problem. Eventually they said, screw it. Let's make some other thing and just give up on X. That's the much, much abridged version. But no, X is not a valid rating for movies.
Oh, actually, I just read really quickly. They had an X rating, the
Yes.
MPAA. And then because it wasn't trademarked,
Oh, like I said.
anyone could put an X rating on their movies.
Like I said.
And then because they used the X rating so much, they invented NC-17.
Like I said.
Yep.
All right, spot on.
All right.
See, we research things. You get that from the Wikipedia?
Maybe.
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 Nah. Though actually, I remember when I was a kid that there were 2 theaters in the area that didn't even bother with the rating system. They pretty much let anyone into any movie, and that was great as a kid.
There is no law whatsoever that says, I mean, if you brought a kid to like a rated X movie, right? There's no law that says you cannot bring a kid to a rated X movie.
Well, other than possible child endangerment laws
yes,
or
there
all
are
those
laws
things.
that say, you can't endanger a minor, whatever. And basically,
I think that it's contributing to the delinquence of a minor.
yeah, something like that. So if you had a kid and you brought him to a rated R movie, right? Then it would pretty much be up to the court to decide, based on that movie and exactly what you did, whether you were guilty of this other crime that doesn't have anything to do with movie ratings whatsoever. There's no law that says a theater has to keep out people from certain rated movies, except for, straight up pornos. And
The
things.
sad thing was, though, it didn't really affect me because I became old enough pretty much right around that time. But a bunch of parents in town got into this uproar about, oh, Lord, these movie theaters are letting the kids in to see these bad movies. We got to put a stop to that. So they came down hard on the movie theaters and basically gave them the ultimatum of enforce these things or we will somehow destroy you. And the theaters just all caved in.
Yeah,
But the theaters, to their credit, did something cool. They started checking everyone's ID no matter what. And it was very annoying to a lot of adults.
That's a cool theater right there.
Yeah.
The thing is, what I hate so much is that these people, they cave in so quickly to these loud minorities. And if
Oh,
they
like that. What's that thing? The parents' television
that
console?
sends in most of the pretty much 99% of the complaints to the FCC are from one group of people.
Yep.
Right? Most people in this country, I'm very confident, want to see lots of violence and lots of sex. That's why those things get big ratings. That's why those things get big ticket sales. That's what everyone wants to see, except for this very small, loud minority of people. And if theaters just freaking had some balls, think about how much money they
It's
made.
not just theaters. It's the theaters. It's the government. It's the contact.
If they had some balls and they just told those people to shut up, then you wouldn't see a lot of people go hooray because they're quiet majority. What you would see is them make a lot of money from a lot of teenagers going to see freaking violent movies.
And maybe those teenagers will get used to seeing violence and then not, I don't know, engage in this. There's really I can't make a logical argument for that.
No. But yeah.
I don't think it would be such a big deal at all because while people like to see these things, and I really want to see art be unconstrained and just let people do what they will so long as the creation of the art itself does not actively harm people or things or well, maybe not things, but people or animals or anything like that. Like, it shouldn't be illegal to have a movie where a guy gets shot all bloodily. Unless you shoot a guy all bloodily in order to film it.
Well, it could be a stunt guy who wants to get shot.
No, there's problems with that.
I know, but
All right, so you
obviously,
kidnap some hobo, you shoot him, and you film
you
it.
can't
That's not
do
cool.
that. No, you can't do that. No,
But I don't think that's the problem that the rating systems are supposed to be
No, it's not.
solving.
I actually do think there should be rating systems because on paper, what a rating system does is it provides information and does nothing more than provide information. And it's always good to provide more information, in my eyes. You know, if you buy a book and it says on the back, this book contains violence and boobies, that's great that the book says that on the back. It's more information about the contents of the book.
The problem
what could be wrong
is-
with that?
Stores and governments and people use these rating systems to restrict what other people do. I mean, look at
Yep.
this. Because Nintendo and Sony have full control over their consoles, they can just say to these people, all right, we're not going to carry any adults-only games, so die in a fire. And these people have no recourse. That's why I wish PC gaming would just explode back with a fury, because no one controls the PC gaming market.
Yep,
No
this
one can
is-
stop your game from coming out.
Yep. See, I don't have a problem with, like, maybe not laws, but stores having a policy that says, you know, kids can't buy, if you're like a 12-year-old, you can't buy an M-rated game. I don't really have a problem with that either. But if a parent wants to buy the M-rated game and give it to their kid, that's fine. You can't stop them from doing it. That's why this pisses me off, that they made an AO game, right? So you sell the AO game in the stores to adults only. The fact that now people won't sell the game, this is the problem. I don't mind if the game is rated AO. I don't mind if the game exists. I don't mind if a parent buys it and gives it to a 3-year-old. They can do that. But if a store won't sell the game, even to an adult, me, I can't buy it. That's bullshit.
But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with that. If I own a store, you can't coerce me into selling things I don't want to sell. The only exception to that, I think, are pharmacies, but that's another thing altogether.
Yeah, I guess the store does have a right to not sell it if they don't want to. But it's still sort of ass. And
Yeah,
it's
I think the problem is that the way American, and maybe Western in general, consumerism has gone, is that very few retail stores control the majority of the markets.
It's the same
Thus-
way that very few newspapers and TV stations control the media, you know?
Yeah, so as a result, if the big ones decide not to sell something, all the little ones usually follow suit for, as far as I can see, no reason. Because here's what they could do, and I wonder why people don't. In this case, it's more difficult because it wouldn't be easy to just release this game on the PC, I don't think. Mm-hmm. Especially since it was Wii and PlayStation, as opposed to Xbox, and then could just... But anyway, what you do is if your game won't be sold in these places, you market it as, this is the game that's too hardcore for Walmart. No one will sell this game
Yep, and-
except us. You can buy it directly from us online. We gave the ESRB the finger. Just give us your credit card. We'll send you your violence.
See, that's what I would do, is I would say, okay, this game is illegal in Britain because Britain doesn't have freedom of speech, apparently, right?
Oh, I would so set up some sort of gray market to sell it in Britain.
I know, but that's fine. The game is illegal in Britain because Britain is a backwards nation without freedom, right? But in the
what's
U.S.,
this Britain you speak of?
the Albion, right?
Yes, yes.
The only reason that this game isn't sold in the U.S. is because the retail establishments, the Walmart, the GameStop, etc., won't sell it. There's no law that says this game can't be sold here, except for the fact that I guess also the system, the consoles that the game is going to be on, don't want the game published on their consoles. This is why what I would do is, if I was Take-Two, is I would just turn it into a PC game and sell it on Steam. Bam!
Yeah. And in the meantime, because it might take a while to do that, I would just keep marketing it as Nintendo and Sony are afraid of this game.
Yep. All these people would sign up to Steam. They would all download the game. Maybe I wouldn't use Steam if I couldn't make a deal with Valve. I'd do the direct-to-drive.
I'm sure Valve would be more than
Or
willing.
maybe the Game Tap. There's like a bunch of different online game selling solutions out there. It's not too hard to convert a game from a PS3 game to a PC
Plus,
game.
for a one-off like that, it'd be trivial to just sell the game straight up. It gets sent to you via a file transfer mechanism after the credit card number comes.
That's what the direct-to-drive thing is. It's basically this website where you can just buy
but
games.
I'm saying there's a
and
lot of
download.
ways to do that.
There are many ways to do it, and I don't see why they don't. If the game is done, They should it would take them maybe a few weeks to set something like this up. Maybe
it might take longer than that. Depending on how they coded it.
It depends on how they coded it, but they coded it properly.
Plus, there is the problem
especially if it's a 360 game.
There is the problem of PC gaming in general. I mean, you don't have the right controllers.
I know.
Almost every USB controller sucks ass.
Well, that's why they have
computer.
the new Xbox 360 controllers for PC.
Oh, but it's not an Xbox game. It's a PlayStation Wii game.
I know. That's another mistake they made.
Yeah.
If you're anything, you make one an Xbox Wii game, not an Wii PS3 game.
I don't know. I guess what it boils down to is I don't see any ideological problems with what happened. The problem is more that the implementation of our society in terms of things like this has ended up fucking us out of a game that I probably didn't care about.
I don't know. It's because it was a Wii game. Now I'm actually kind of interested.
Yeah, well, maybe because the best game on the Wii right now is still... insert game here. I don't have anything funny because I haven't touched... The Wii is covered in dust and hasn't been turned on in weeks.
The Wii hasn't been turned on in over a month. All right. So, my news is quick. If you have a 360 and the date is June 27th.
Which it should be because I don't know how many of you listen... Well, I know exactly how many of you listen to the show at night, but I won't go there.
Yep. You should be going into your little Xbox Live shopping marketplace, whatever they call it. I don't know. I don't have one. And you should be buying Carcassonne. Carcassonne.
I insist that you do so.
If you listen to this show and you have an Xbox 360 and you do not buy Carcassonne, you are hereby no longer permitted to listen to this show until you purchase it.
You're a bad person.
I want to see Carcassonne in every gamer tag I see in that forum.
Now, I kind of wish I had an Xbox. The only reason I don't is honestly that I don't have enough time to play video games because I want an Xbox. There's games I want on it.
Yep.
I would probably play Carcassonne more than anything on that thing because you see, in our front row crew and in the extended, conventions and everything, in all of my life since I've started playing Carcassonne, I have about an 80 to 85% win rate to this day. And as Scott was pointing out, this is probably the truest test I could have because I would be forced to play against the masses. The masses out there who are probably going to spend a lot of time playing it for whatever achievement points they might get.
It would also display your worldwide rank over time, and
yes.
If you just kept winning, you'd eventually be number one in Carcassonne.
And if I wasn't, or if I'm rising in the ranks, I'd know
see
who to fight.
Yep, you would know who is better than you.
So if you guys want to see me either attain my greatness, get to the top of Maslow's pyramid, or if you want to see me crash and burn in a glorious flame of suckage.
Buy us a 360?
Yeah, buy us an Xbox 360.
Yeah, I would actually buy one in a second if I had a single moment of the day in which I wanted to play video games but did not have a video game to play.
Yeah, funny how we're going to get to that in a little bit.
Funny how we are going to get to that. Yeah, Carcassonne, it's an awesome German board game, but now instead of buying a board game and having to find friends to play it with you, you can just play it on the 360.
We ever actually do a show on Carcassonne?
I think we did.
Straight up?
I think we did.
We should have. If we didn't, let us know. We will. Carcassonne.
I'll search for it right now.
Carcassonne is a great game. I mean, aside from being just a great game that stands the test of time, well better than Settlers or other entry-level games.
We did in May of 2006.
All right, then I'll stop there. Carcassonne is badass. You must buy it.
End of story.
Things of the day. I have to talk about this because it touches on a lot of issues that are dear to me. I'm not going to go into a lot of depth about exactly how I feel, mostly because, if anything, that would be a separate show. In fact, I imagine it might be a good Thursday because the Thursday we got going now for this Thursday is kind of a crap cop-out. But there's a video that exploded all over Dig today of a bunch of kids in some city, and apparently they were skateboarding, and a cop didn't like it. He told them to stop. They didn't.
Was there a no skateboarding sign?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
And one of the kids, I don't know if he was planning on an encounter with the cops, if he's just a brilliant kid who realizes that in this modern society, that's really the only way to protect yourself from incidents, especially involving authority figures,
Maybe
or what.
He watched some ACLU instructional videos.
But he had what appeared to be a hidden camera on him.
Maybe a cell phone cam.
No, it wasn't a cell phone cam. Definitely not.
All right.
And basically, the cop ends up headlocking, throwing to the ground, threatening to pepper spray, chases one of the kids around for a while who tries to run away. And the situation just escalates and escalates and escalates, and then all these kids end up being arrested for all sorts of crimes.
Like what besides?
Obstruction of justice, resisting arrest, battery. The list goes on for a while as the guy's yelling at them all the crimes they've committed. One of the kids starts crying. Now, of course, the internet is outraged, as you might have guessed. The internet seems...
it should be.
Well, the internet seems very easy to outrage. I mean, go to Dig, and every other story is usually people outraged about something, whether or not it was justified.
Yep.
And the outrage usually goes well beyond a justifiable response.
Well, I haven't actually gotten the details of this story other than what you just said, so I don't know if I should be outraged or not.
Well, I will boil it down very simply. There is a law against skateboarding in these public places that the kids were violating. The kids did ignore the cop and try to just keep skateboarding and or run away, which is true. However, the cop was a total dick. I will give the kids that. This cop and his cop friend basically acted like assholes and could have handled the situation, I think, better. There is a line at which, teaching these kids a lesson would have been the good thing to do. I think they stepped a little bit beyond the line. However, the internet has reacted crazily to the point that the police station involved has been succumbing to a flood of phone calls, faxes, and emails from diggers and YouTubers expressing how horrible this cop is and how they should be fired and skateboarders' rights and blah, blah, blah. Now, here are the issues as I see them. And I'm going to break this down without... Just watch the video.
So this is definitely different from the video where the kids were skateboarding and some random dad with his daughters tried to wrestle around with them.
No, this is one of
where
those...
obviously the kids were in the right. This one, it's kind of gray. It's like the kids were in the wrong, but the cops are also a little brutality acting.
But at the same time, the cops were perfectly justified legally in all their responses.
Yeah, I guess.
Because, now, here are my observations from this. Rule number 1. If you are going to run away from the police... Do not do so unless you expect you will be able to get away. Because I have. I'm going to say this because the statute of limitations is out on all of my previous crimes, as far as I am aware. I have run from the police before on dozens of occasions. And I got away in all of those occasions. Had there been any doubt in my mind that I was going to get away, I would not have run away from the police. Because if you run and you get caught,
you're fucked.
If you run and they knew who you were already, it's game over.
You're done.
Do not run away from the police.
It's sort of like one of those, like the way that a lot of criminal law works is like if you do something, it's illegal. But then every little tiny thing you do sort of adds on to it. Like robbing a convenience store. Okay, robbing a convenience store if you had a gun on you.
Oh.
If you brandished the gun. If you fired the gun. Every tiny thing you do adds like 5 years. So if a cop is coming after you for, say, stepping on the grass in the park, and you run, you just added like running and like 5 other things.
Resisting arrest.
Yeah, and you don't want those. You'd rather just get in trouble for stepping on the grass.
What you got to do is do what that kid in City of God did.
Yep. But if you do manage to get away for running, then you can even avoid the stepping on the grass. So it's if you can get away, get away. If you can't, just stop, because you'll just get a ticket for stepping on the grass.
Perhaps if I ever need a special, I could do Rim's Guide on how to run away from the police.
Yep.
But that might land me in trouble.
Also, don't run if you haven't done anything illegal yet, because running will be the first illegal thing you do. And if you didn't do anything illegal, you can just wait to go to court.
But anyway, that is probably the most important
I'm not
lesson.
a lawyer.
Neither am I. Lesson number 2. Skateboarding is illegal in a lot of places where it probably shouldn't be.
Yep.
And I really disagree with these towns, these cities that try to make skateboarding and rollerblading and anything kids would do for fun on the street illegal. But at the same time, if there is a law and you're going to civil disobedience it, you've got to go all the way in the civil disobedience.
You've got to get basically every kid in town to skateboard down Main Street all
And then
at once.
when the police come, all stop and say, "Officer, we were all skateboarding. I suggest that you ticket all of us."
Yep, and do it every day, because you know what, kids? Your parents have to pay those tickets.
Truer words have never been said, because I guarantee that the ticket is already more than your allowance.
Yep.
And what are they going to do? Dock your wages? You're not working. You're a punk kid.
Yep. If every punk kid in town skateboards down Main Street every day and the police ticket all of you, your parents will eventually say the law has to change.
Yep.
Now, they might make it worse, like you go to jail, but then every parent's going to have all their kids in jail every day. You'll make friends with the cops. It'll be a good old time.
Plus, it helps if you get your parents to go along with it. because your parents are probably sick of you sitting inside playing video games all the time. And they don't want you to go out and do drugs. They don't want you to go out and vandalize things.
We should do next Thursday or this Thursday on this.
Yeah, there's the whole idea of kids need things to do.
Yep.
But yeah, watch the video. I'm not on the kid's side 100%. I'm not on the cop's side 100%. It's a complicated situation that I think really encompasses a lot of issues that are facing modern kids in modern America. Yep. And I'll leave it at that.
So,
But the cop was a dick.
There are a lot of video games out there. And, a lot of people, we always yell at people for mispronouncing things, Usually standard English words. Of course, many video games have names that are not English words. And the games don't include audio, especially old games. And there's usually no way to know the correct pronunciation of these games.
See, now, this is funny because before we grew up in the era where there was Nintendo, but there wasn't an internet so much.
Yeah, for all we knew, it wasn't Nintendo. It could have been Nintendo until they had TV commercials.
Now, the same thing happened with words like anime and manga versus anime and manga.
Yep.
And I think there's one good example of this. Where I grew up, everyone pronounced it Crystalis. But in other places of America, like down in Philly, it was pronounced Crystalis. And these areas kind of emerged on their own independently.
How many people do I know say Mario?
Yep.
It's Mario.
Mario.
It's an Italian first name. We know how to say it. This one was not a mystery.
Well, that was more of an accent than people just deciding how to pronounce the made-up
I know,
word.
but it's Mario. That is the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, no one said Sonic the Hedgehog except maybe the French.
Oh, the hedgehog. He is so blue and fast. He runs away like the French we do. Oh, he is our hero.
No offense to the French, you're a lot better than those Albionic fools. You don't ban video games.
Yeah, you have as many sexy video games as you can get.
As well you should.
So there was a funny, it was on Dig, so everyone's probably seen it, but here are the video games that are the top 7 mispronounced video game names. Number 1, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah. This is an old NES game I'm very fond of, and the title of the game is spelled Faxanadu. One word.
I always said Faxanadu, and I hit anyone who said anything else.
The correct pronunciation, and this is actually something I learned here, is, Xanadu, like, the mansion in Citizen Kane and the DDR song, only with a fa in front of it.
Faxanadu.
Faxanadu.
Ah.
Yep. And actually, it says here, incorrect pronunciation. Fax-ana-do. And you know why it's Faxanadu?
Why?
Oh, Faxanadu?
Is it like faux Xanadu, like you fake Xanadu?
It's a combination of Xanadu and Famicom.
Total, that kind of it's kind of like when you think about it, you realize that Pokemon is just pocket monsters.
The second one is actually one that I lost a pronunciation debate on, so I know the correct pronunciation now. It is actually a manga/anime/RPG spelled capital Y, lowercase s.
Ease, not wise.
Yep.
Ease. I said wise when I was a kid.
I said wise.
But here's the thing. When I got to college, and I hadn't said the name of this game because there was no reason for it to come up. In fact, I never actually beat that game on the SNES.
There's a lot of games. There's the screenshot here, I think, is a promotional picture for Ys 6.
Yeah, but there was Wanderers
of Napish.
I think it was Wanderers from Ys was the one on the SNES. I forget.
Yeah.
My brother liked that game a lot. I just never really got into it.
So if you see someone with a manga or an anime or video game and the title is spelled YS, it's Ys.
But when I got to college, someone said, I think it was Katsu, he said Ys.
I think he said Isu.
Yeah, but the thing is, he said it, right?
Yep.
And my brain immediately made this calculation. Wow, I'll bet I was saying that wrong. He said it before I did. I'm going to defer to him unless other information presents itself.
Well, he's Japanese, you should.
Thus, saving myself from the problem that Scott had and was made the fool of later for.
Yeah, I kind of argued against the E's.
I was also wrong, but I knew not to argue.
Anyway, the next one is one that I've never pronounced wrong, which is Suikoden.
Suikoden?
It's Suikoden.
All right, I gotta ask.
I don't know how anyone messed that one up.
I gotta ask, because this one always bothered me. Is Nobunaga's Ambition on there? Because more people in my life...
That one isn't a matter of mispronunciation. It's a matter of not seeing all the letters.
Most people in my life called it Nobunaga's Ambition.
Because I had that problem too, because if you look at the word Nobunaga very quickly, you don't see that una in there, and it just looks like Nobunga. I thought, if you asked me how to spell it, I would have said Nobunga. But if you look at it carefully, because of, the Roman letters, when you put them in that arrangement, you have to look at it carefully to realize it says Nobunaga.
See, I will give people a little bit of a pass because it's obvious to us now that,
We're smart.
We listen to Japanese a lot. So we're kind of used to Japanese and all that stuff. So when we see that word, it makes sense, Nobunaga. But if you're not, like when I first started watching anime, when I wasn't used to Japanese, I just kind of didn't really read words that weren't in English and just kind of pronounced them haphazardly.
Yep. Well, the next game is called the article says we don't know how to pronounce this.
Are you pronouncing words purposefully badly?
It actually says here in their article, we say the name of this game is supposed to be mispronounced. Do your worst, right? The way you spell the name of the game is Popolocrois, and that is pronounced Popolocrois. If you don't know how to say that, there's something wrong with you. Popolocrois.
I remember a kid when I was young.
Anyone want to argue with me, bring it. That's how that's said.
Who was very excited about a new game he got, Dr. Chow's.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The next one is actually pretty sad that people mispronounce this. It's Deus Ex.
Yeah, Deus Ex as in Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah. Apparently some people say Deus Ex or Deus Ex or Day of Sex.
9th grade Greek literature called.
Deus Ex is the correct pronunciation. The next one is one Rim likes, the Magic of Scheherazade.
It's not that hard to say that word, people. Not Scherzade, not
Scheherazade. Scheherazade.
Most people seem to say Shezarad.
The next one is one that's...
That game sucked, by the way. I liked it. I wanted to like that game. I forced myself to like that game. Like, literally, I would play the game, and I'd say to myself, this game is great. It's just like all those other RPGs. Check out all these spells. I can plant things and think. So many secrets. So many secrets. This game... No, that game sucked ass.
Yep. The next one is Pokemon. The correct pronunciation is Pokemon.
Partly because they added in America that accent aigu above the E to make sure you say Poke instead of Pokemon, because Pokemon is kind of perverted.
So the other pronunciations, while fun, are admittedly incorrect. It's Pokemon.
My Pokemons, let me show them to you.
Monster. Yes.
Poketo Monster.
This. Okay. And those are the 7 mispronounced game names. If you mispronounce them incorrectly from here on out, there's something wrong with you.
Well,
Actually, one of my pet peeves is like if someone mispronounces something, right? I correct them, And then it's like they've heard the correct pronunciation. They are capable of pronouncing it correctly. They do so at least once. They say it correctly. But then they come around to it again and they say it incorrectly the next time. Like someone will say manga and I'll say no, manga. And they'll say, "Oh, right, manga." And then a minute later, they'll say, "Well, I was reading this manga." And I'm like, "You just said manga."
Now, at least...
What the fuck?
I'm fine with that if it's an accent thing. Like, people who say Mario are the same people who say water. And while I make fun of them for their accent, I can't fault them for mispronouncing a word.
But this is an accent we're talking here. They were just capable of saying it the correct way. They just did it.
Well, there's no accent that forces you to say manga instead of manga. And I will say...
There's an accent that forces you to say aluminium.
I prefer saying aluminium.
I'm just saying, it's an accent that forces that to happen.
Yeah, true. But I'm okay with that. In fact, I somewhat prefer aluminium, and I like spelling
There's also an accent that forces you to say Coke.
We're not getting into that.
You sure?
We're not getting into that, because the numbers are still pretty much 50-50. The battle line is pretty much at Rochester, New York.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So, we'll get right to the chase. Despite the fact that if we look at all the geekeries, the different days of the week we do, and we talked about this in kind of our origin shows, but video gaming is the one that I have the most history with. It's my nearest and dearest, and I think it shaped my life as a whole more than any other of my geekeries in the long run, just for the fact that it shaped my childhood so irrevocably.
Yeah, when I was a little kid, I was NESing in the single digits. The anime, the manga, the comics came around when I was like 10 or 11.
My mother played the Atari 2600 while she was pregnant with me.
My mom also played the Atari 2600 with her mad super breakout action.
My grandpa played his Atari right up until his death.
Yeah. And,
so did my grandma.
Before any other geekery was in set. I didn't have a computer until the double digits, even though I was using computers in kindergarten and school, Apple IIs. I didn't have that much time with them, and everything else we did was mostly like, fun outside in the backyard, like normal kids and sports and those sorts of everyday things.
I remember I had big conflicts in my life where I'd be sitting in front of the extra TV because my parents were watching a movie or something, and it'd be sunny outside, and I had Pitfall, and I wanted to play Pitfall, but I also wanted to go outside, and I wasn't sure what to do because they were both equal.
Yep. Often what I would do is ride the bike down the street.
And then play Nintendo at someone else's house.
Or go get them, bring them back to my house.
Yep.
Or we'd go swimming in the pool, then we'd dry off, go inside, and play video games.
See, we never rode to someone's house to get them when we were really young kids. We'd always just call up, and it would always
never
be like...
used the phone. We always just rode bikes down the street.
We always used the phone, and
door.
it was like none of us wanted to... Like, we were awkward on the phone, because, we're little kids. But we had this ritual where I'd get the phone, I'd call my friend, so I'd dial 881-1892, which was my friend Joe Ogilvy who lived down the street.
Way to give away a phone number.
Yeah.
All right.
They have one, I didn't give away the area code.
All right.
And two, they haven't lived in that house for probably 2 decades.
Whoever lives there is in trouble.
Yeah, if they figure out the area code to which I am referring.
That's not hard to figure out with the internets.
And actually, no, because the area code changed, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, punj.
But anyway, and I'd be like, is Joe there? And the parents would say, just a minute. And then Joe would pick up and say, hello. And I'd say, want to play? He'd say, okay. We'd both hang up, and then we'd meet on the street.
We would just knock on each other's doors, and then you'd basically either, can you go or can you not go? It depended on your parents, pretty much. And most of the time, it was like, yeah, go.
I always noticed as a kid.
Like, once in a while, it would be like, no, we're going out to dinner. You can't go.
It'd be like whoever knocked on the door always brought the person whose door they knocked on away. You never knocked on someone's door and then went in. You always knocked on the door and then like, let's go, and then you dragged them out.
Yep, that's what the kids do. Anyway, video games are the oldest geekery. I've been video gaming longer than any other geekery, except you might say like baseball card collecting, but I stopped doing that.
You collected baseball cards?
Well, when I was a little kid, my dad would like buy 1 pack every weekend at the newsstand. It was that kind of thing.
I had a few, but I always stuck them in my bike spokes.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I kept him on the floor.
My brother collected them, so I can't really make fun of you.
I got him sitting over there, and then I stopped as soon as I stopped collecting things and wasting money on that. Right after, I gave up. Basically, I switched from baseball cards to superhero cards to magic cards. I was like, ooh, magic cards. These actually have a game associated with them. Screw those other cards. And then when I said, wait, this game, and then I gave up all collecting.
It's a good thing magic cards didn't come with bubblegum.
Yeah, without magic cards, I might still be collecting today. I would have never realized collecting was a waste of time and money and space. But yeah, video game is the oldest, most revered geekery. Yet, lately, I haven't been doing any video gaming at all.
Well, I blame 3 factors. And it's not a lack of time so much, because there are times when I could choose to play a video game and I choose to do something else instead. And I think number 1 is that the Wii, at least for us, is absolutely useless because no games have come out for it.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a whole lot. This will be like the 3rd or 4th time. And
I've played Soul Calibur on the Wii more than I've played any Wii game.
Yep. And that, just to sum it up one more time, I don't want to go into this a whole lot, is that the Wii has a vast potential as a gaming platform. Incredible potential. More potential than possibly any other gaming platform ever created. That potential is largely unfulfilled. In fact, if the Wii was just a GameCube with a better CPU, the games currently available for it don't even fulfill that meager potential. That's how bad it is. And I'm confident the potential will be fulfilled within a year or so.
Partly because the DS was in the same boat, and the DS is still awesome.
Yep, and until that potential is fulfilled, the Wii will remain sitting there off and barely used. And that's a whole lot of gaming that I would be doing. If there was a game right now that actually fulfilled more than 50% of the Wii's potential, I would not be able to resist playing it. But as it stands, there's pretty much nothing on the Wii that I can resist.
I don't have so much trouble resisting playing WarioWare Wii.
I don't even need to resist. I have no desire whatsoever.
Exactly.
So,
in fact, you would have to coerce me into playing it at this point.
Yep, so the Wii is just sitting there dormant.
All right, but Ren, you just said the DS is awesome.
It is awesome. It's holy shit awesome.
I blame Pokemon's fatigue.
Yep. Currently, the way the DS works is it is very awesome. And there are many very awesome DS games. But to really get the most out of a lot of them, you need the multiplayer action. And, well, right now, while, the past few weeks we've been sitting in our houses, we're going on trains to work, all the single-player action on the DS has been cleared out, and only multiplayer action is left.
See, we're in different states, because for me, I still haven't even gotten past the first level of Kirby's Canvas Curse.
Well, that's...
And I haven't beaten the second Phoenix Wright game, and I stopped playing Pokemon, and I never finished Princess Peach, so fuck that game.
Yeah, I didn't finish it either.
I beat it, I got to the end, and then she's like, no, you gotta go save all the rest of the guys that you didn't save. And I said, what? Fuck that.
Yep.
Quit. And I just never played it again.
I beat like 4 levels of Princess Peach, then I was done.
It was fun. It was just, easy.
Yeah. Didn't provide much of a challenge.
And actually, sadly, one of the games that I loved the most on the DS was still the new Mario Brothers, but I got to admit, the new Mario Brothers was trivially easy, and I really didn't die in beating it.
It was also trivially easy, and it had almost no replay value other than going back to get all the big coins. And I actually got 4 worlds worth of big coins, complete sets, and then I stopped because it was tedious.
And I don't know why, because Mario World has a lot more replay value, and so does Mario 3. And I'm not sure if that's just me and my bullshit nostalgia, or if there's a difference, but we're not going to get into that.
The reason for that, I think, is because in Mario World and Mario 3, you usually beat the game without beating all the levels. And there was a lot of places to explore and levels to go to and things to do.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about that before.
Meanwhile, in New Super Mario Brothers, when I beat it the first time, I beat it straight through. I beat almost every single level on the first try in one shot. And there wasn't any, there was no content left for me to take in other than finding a few secrets, which I didn't really care about.
Also, all the secrets and the things in Mario 3 and Mario World were kind of hard to get, and you had to play through parts of the game, especially in Mario 3, to get to them. But in this new one, the big mushroom was pretty much a useless gimmick, and the tiny mushroom was annoying, and the shell just killed you. Like, there was no benefit to these things, and there was no mystique about them. But the hammer suit, 1 was awesome, 2 was amazing, 3 was fantastic, and 4...
it had more mystique than any other item in any video game ever.
Yeah, definitely. Except possibly the hammer in Zelda 2 before I had gotten the hammer.
Yes, but the thing about it
Once I got the hammer, the mystique
thing
disappeared.
about the hammer suit that gives it more mystique than, say, the most powerful gun in Metroid or the BFG or something like that is that it is not something that is required to beat the game. You could beat the game without even knowing it's there. Whereas the hammer in Zelda 2, you're going to get it.
I'll go one step further. The hammer suit in Mario 3 transcended a hitherto untranscended boundary. You crossed this line. You were able to get a power and become like one of your enemies in a game where traditionally there was no such possibility.
Yeah.
The possibility of getting the power of an enemy in Mario was amazing to me as a kid.
That's why Kirby's Adventure was awesome.
Yes, I love those Kirby games.
We should actually get the Kirby's Adventure. I think they remade it for the GBA.
Yes, but I think I have plenty of single-player content, but Phoenix Wright, I got kind of fatigued trying to play it through it in one go just because it was mostly the same game. It was just, I liked the game, but I got fatigued. And Pokemon was the same thing. I just got fatigued. And then at that point, I'm really starting to crave multiplayer action. I'm really starting to crave direct competition against my friends as opposed to single-player combat.
Yep, and that niche would be filled by Pokemon, except because of my Pokemon fatigue, I beat Pokemon, the single player. But I'm really fatigued, and I have no desire to level up my Pokemon and craft my team necessary for multiplayer. But without that team, I have no desire to play the multiplayer. And it's also, unless other people also have their team set, they have no desire to play the multiplayer with me. So it's going to take quite a bit of time of losing Pokemon fatigue for me to go back and train up a team and have that be enjoyable.
Yep. Now, I think the other concern is that I like all this multiplayer stuff. I like to play against other people. I want to compete with other people. I want to interact in a shared space in some way. And we just rock the board game something fierce. And I actually am trying to end this show as quickly as I can because Alex is sitting in the other room waiting for us to come down and play a board game.
Yeah, we bought 4 board games, and while, we try to keep the Tuesday shows even between board games and video games with some RPGs here and there, if we buy 4 board games, we're going to be playing those board games before we're going to play a video game. That's just how it is lately.
Yep.
If there's a board game sitting there we've only played once in our lives, and it's a multiplayer board game that's really strategically deep, and is, say, Super Paper Mario, which I've beaten a little bit over half of, I'm basically going to completely ignore Super Paper Mario, unless there's nothing else to do at all. And when I'm also, in addition to that, personally, when I'm sitting around the house with nothing to do and I need a solitary activity, I'm either going to work on something like maybe housework or eating or, something for the conventions or the show or something like that, or I'm going to read some comics. And I got a lot of comics and books sitting there, and lately I'm just in the mood to go for those before I go to beat Super Paper Mario, which is good, but it's one of those games where I'm going to play once and never play again. So waiting on beating the second half is actually kind of okay because it sort of prolongs the usability of the Wii until this game's actually come out for it this holiday season.
I don't know. To me, I mean, I didn't even play through Twilight Princess yet. In fact, I'm 2 hours into it, and I'm not really sure why because I really like that game. And I do have time to sit down and play an hour or two every other night and just start progressing through it. It seems like it might just be a personal problem I have where I have seasons of like and dislike of certain things. And sometimes it's video game season, sometimes it's board game season, sometimes it's Counter-Strike season.
I'm generally getting the feeling that, I'm in me, I really don't have a desire anymore to go out and play video games. I don't seek them out so much.
See, I do.
Well, some games, but a lot of those games I can't play or don't have time for. I can't sit down and play Civilization for hours and hours right now. I can't do that. But what happens is when new video games come out, let's say that Metroid Corruption came out for the Wii, right? It has such a strong pull that I can't resist it. And I go and I buy it, and then I sit down, and basically I would come home every day and play it and play it and play it and play it, do the show, eat, play it and play it and play it and play it and play it until it was beaten. And then I put it on the shelf and wouldn't play it anymore because I have eliminated all its lure.
For me, it's more that I go through cycles. It's kind of like my man cycle, my RIM cycle. And right now, the cycle that I'm feeling, because I have my super fast computer and Half-Life 2, and I really kind of want to play Half-Life 2.
I couldn't resist Half-Life 2 at all.
I'm having trouble resisting it. I am. But
that is the strongest pull.
When
that Half-Life Episode 2 comes out, I'm not going to be able to do anything else until it's beaten.
The kinds of games that are available to me that I haven't beaten yet, that are single player on my consoles, my DS and the Wii, for some reason, it's not the season I'm in now. I was in that season before those games came out. And by the time those games came out, right now, I desire really tactical, really deep, really immersive, really, maybe Half-Life, but more the things I get out of German board games are games like Advance Wars.
Half-Life is more a cinematic experience, not a strategic experience.
Thus, my real draw right now is games like Advance Wars, but I've already beaten every Advance Wars game entirely, and I realize now that I forgot. I bought Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, and I stopped playing it a long time ago. I think it's time to pick it back up.
Did you buy that? I didn't even know we had that.
I have it.
I kind of want to play that.
I bought it real cheap. I started it, and then I forget what distracted me. I think the Wii came out, and I just stopped.
Is there going to be a Fire Emblem DS?
Probably.
I kind of want that now.
I'm really feeling that. The problem is, I keep forgetting that I just now remembered I have Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I never played it. I'm probably going to play that tomorrow on the way to work.
I also think that the final problem is that all things we do in the summer have to compete with the outside of the house.
Yes.
And in the winter, they do not.
Especially since a bunch of us have decided to take up rock climbing and all these other things.
Well, so a new board game that is strategically deep can compete with outside. But Super Paper Mario really can't. It's good, and I want to play it, but it can't compete with outside.
Yeah, so I guess it does just come down to things. There's the competition for every minute of my waking life. And right now, all the other forms of entertainment are tickling my fancy so much more powerfully.
Yep.
Which is kind of sad, because I really like video games. And I can imagine the kinds of games that, were they put in front of me, I would play them to the exclusion of all these other activities. But the games I imagine I either already own and beat, or I forgot about, which means I'm going to start playing Final Fantasy Tactics Advance a whole bunch.
Or they don't exist, or I don't know about them, and I'm not going to waste, I have better things to do than spend time looking for them. Because I really just don't like spending time looking for things.
Yeah. Oh, well, you know what? Screw this. I solved my problem. I'm playing Tactics Advance tonight. And at least maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, well,
no more video game drought for me.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go play some board games and expect board game shows for the next week or two.
God. But then we got conventions coming up, too.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go and have arcade shows once we get to the shore.
Oh, that's true, I guess.
All right, but I'm really feeling the urge to go play Power Grid.
Oh, that's another thing. The last reason I'm not playing video games, there's one genre of game that I feel an urge to play more than any other board game, outside, or anything.
What genre is that?
The rhythm game. But of course, we can't play DDR in our house because it shakes the house.
Well,
we don't own the Guitar Heroes.
We could play DDR if we play it on the deck and tilt the TV.
I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go to the shore and do the arcade machine. I'm going to probably play DDR for hours and hours and bring my Nalgene over there.
God, we're going to be those guys. I haven't been that guy in a long time.
That's fine. I got to be that guy.
See, this is
my
why...
legs right now are literally like, there are muscles in my leg twitching like they want to step on arrows.
You realize I am twitching right now in my feet all the steps to Shooting Star on Maniac because I played that song so many times I got to memorize.
Yeah. So
God, DDR. If there's ever a question, I love Guitar Hero and I think it's awesome, but DDR has so much more staying power, plus the fact that you get exercise.
Plus, I'm holding out and buying the Guitar Hero because while I could get a PS2 and the Guitar Hero pretty cheap, I'm waiting to see which system in the long run has the most rhythm game action. Because if I buy a PS2, sure, I have access to the existing PS2 rhythm game library and Guitar Hero 1, 2, and I think the 80s version that's coming out. But the 360 has Guitar Hero 2, and I don't know what Guitar Hero games in the future. Are those also going to come for the PS2? What DDR games in the future are going to come for which systems? I want to get... If I'm buying a console that's not the Wii, because I have a feeling the Wii is not going to be the awesome rhythm game machine, although it might be. I'm not going to buy a console other than the Wii unless that is pretty much the home of the most rhythm game action, period.
Yeah, rhythm games I love. When I first...
So I got to wait and see.
The first time I played DDR, I was converted from Wow That's Stupid to I have found my new calling in life.
Yep, I saw it, and people kept playing it, and I looked at it, and I said, that's the stupidest thing, I'm not even going to bother.
And
that's the stupidest thing, I'm not even going to bother. That's the stupidest...
then,
God damn it, this is awesome.
There's that one social night where you were off playing D&D, and I played DDR by myself on a projector for like 3 hours. And then you came back, and you were like, Frim, what the fuck are you doing? You're playing that stupid game. And I was like, do it once. Do it once.
And
Come here.
I said, oh, I must try everything once before knocking. And then I tried it, and I didn't want to admit to myself that it was fun.
And then we played until they kicked us out.
Yep.
I remember how much my feet hurt the next day.
So, I think that's all we got to say about...
I would like to say, you guys out there are really lucky, because if our house allowed us to play DDR, there wouldn't be as many Geeknights out there. And if we own Guitar Hero, wouldn't be as many Geeknights out there. And if we had both, that'd be the end of the show.
Yeah, but it's not video game season, so if you notice a lack of video game-related shows... it's not video game.
It's anime, board game, comic season, at least until it snows again.
Anime season. Oh, it'll be anime season when the more new shows.
I don't know.
Come out.
Maybe in late September. I'm probably gonna.
See, it's actually season for watching a lot of anime, but it's not the season for new anime. That was a few months ago.
Yeah, God, I'm just now watching Gankutsuo.
Yeah, I'm watching Zeta Gundam.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.